Through 2 weeks of the 2025 NFL season, where do the Arizona Cardinals stack up in the best division in football? Bo Brock, Johnny Venerable, like and subscribe PHNX Sports. And Johnny, the Cardinals are 2-0, but there's not much breathing room as far as this division goes. Two other teams 2-0, and the Seahawks at 1-1. They only lost to the 49ers. Otherwise, these four teams, they're unbeaten outside of their division.
Yeah, it's a dogfight early on, like we expected it to be. I mean, this was the norm, prior to last season, right? Consistently getting 2 to 3 teams in the playoffs. Like I think we expect that now. And as much as I dislike San Francisco's roster, like they have taken full advantage of their schedule, like the Arizona Cardinals. And, Seattle had that game, well in hand week 1 against the 49ers. They blew it. Then they took advantage of some Pittsburgh Steelers miscues. I think the most impressive team as we start our power rankings has been the LA Rams. They've been the most consistent. I know they were down at half on the road at Tennessee, but in complete control in the second half. And they've, most importantly, and we talk about style points, they have looked the most complete offense, defense, special teams. And that's got to be a frustrating aspect if you're a Cardinal fan, specifically because Matthew Stafford, he didn't have a training camp. He didn't play in the preseason. They rolled him out and they said, hey, can you go produce? And he's producing like a franchise quarterback. They've got youth on defense. And then Devontae Adams, who, who knows, has been known to slow down as the season progresses. He and Puka Nacua, that's as formidable as a duo as it gets in the NFC West. So I think as we kick things off here, it's only right to put Sean McVay's NFC West reigning champs as number 1.
Yeah, and they haven't had any hiccups. I think the latter there is the most important part. Sure, just like the Arizona Cardinals, they've beaten up on a pair of 0-2 teams as the Texans also fell to 0-2 on Monday night, and then also take advantage of the team that was selecting first overall. But look, the Rams haven't given you anything to kind of change your opinion on them after they hoisted the NFC West title last year, and they have the biggest point differential. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals could have changed that. They should have been, it's the difference of a touchdown that the Cardinals surrendered to put that game way too close. But Johnny, I think I'll continue these power rankings with the Redbirds at number 2 here. And I know it's been as trying as it possibly could be. You should have just completely stomped the 2 teams that you faced, the Saints and the Carolina Panthers, but still they come out of here the second best point differential in the division. And I think room to improve, right? When you're looking at the rosters, now with the remaining 3 teams outside of the Rams, the Arizona Cardinals, despite being depleted at cornerback, still have a good amount of improving to do and haven't played their best football.
Yeah, if I'm going to be positive with the Cardinals, they have been in complete control of both of these games, Carolina and New Orleans, like to the point where like people checked out in the third quarter, early portion of the fourth quarter. Like this game's not going to be close. And the Cardinals have to make some serious defensive adjustments to close things out. But they, I have not had to sweat for the better part of, 6 of the 8 quarters, any Cardinal game this year. And their refinement offensively is going to be a point of contention with this fan base, but they are doing just enough to get by. And I think the defense, even with these injuries at corner, you're going to be able to get a pass rush. Josh Sweat, Baron Browning off to a nice start. I think Mac Wilson could still play better football. Certainly the defensive tackles like Darius Robinson leaving some to be desired. So there's room to grow there. Whereas and we're going to talk about it, there are just deficiencies that the 49ers and the Seahawks have that I believe are not correctable based on the personnel. I think for the most part, the biggest frustration with the Cardinals is they have the personnel. Now get to correcting, specifically on the offensive side. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL at producing yardage to wide receivers. They're down there with the Philadelphia Eagles, who purposely want to run the football, right? Kyler Murray isn't built like Jalen Hurts, so why are you utilizing an offense like that? I feel like the Cardinals, they are a 1.5 point dog / 1 point favorite, depending on where you dabble on your sports book, ahead of their Sunday matchup at San Francisco. That would tell you on a neutral field they'd be favored, and they'd be significantly favored at State Farm Stadium, albeit against Mac Jones. So I think that's Vegas telling you Cardinals are a better team slightly. And then, we'll have a conversation about Seattle here in a second. But yeah, I do feel like the Cardinals, top to bottom, after their first 2 weeks, have the right to claim the number 2 spot based on personnel.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a misconception that the 49ers remain the Avengers of 2023, where they just were top to bottom, pound for pound, one of the best rosters in the NFL. It is eroded significantly since then. And since the start of the 2025 season, which they couldn't withstand, or you wouldn't think they could withstand, but good on them for being 2-0. But if you look at the Cardinals just versus the 49ers, quarterback, Mac Jones, Kyler Murray, you've got the running back edge with Christian McCaffrey. You look at the wide receiver court, to your point, you're not throwing to the wide receivers, but are you taking Marvin Harrison Jr.? Are you taking Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, in the tight end position with George Kittle on the IR? Edge goes to Trey McBride without a shadow of a doubt. I think defensively, the Cardinals have proven over the last year and a half that they're more stout defensively. But you kind of point towards where we go next as far as our power rankings. It's not probably the San Francisco 49ers, is it? Despite them being ahead of the Seattle Seahawks in the division.
Yeah, I'm putting Seattle number 3. I think Seattle has the infrastructure. Their defense has consistently played well these first 2 weeks. They are kind of working through the Sam Darnold deficiencies, figuring out what they do well offensively post DK Metcalf. Kenneth Walker looked great against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, I expected the Steelers to suffocate that Seahawk offense, given their history as a great defensive team, and certainly the personnel with TJ Watt and company. That was not the case. I mean, Seattle dictated that game. I know Pittsburgh had the snafu in the end zone, and that kind of shifted the tide a little bit. But I am a Mike McDonald believer. I'm not a fan. I wish that they would implode, but they have an infrastructure specifically with John Schneider where they're never going to be down. I don't know if their heights are going to hit 13, 14 games, especially with Darnold, but like, they're going to be in the mix. And that's what this pivotal matchup a week from Thursday on Thursday Night Football, Cardinals hosting Seattle, Gannon and company, they're 0-for against Seattle, dating back to Pete Carroll's final year. So I think it would be disrespectful to put them in the basement. Again, I think they have better players. I think their line of scrimmage defensively is significantly better. And I was impressed with how they came back and avoided 0-2 with a clutch road win.
Yeah, look, I mean, JSN might be the best wide receiver in the division right now. I mean, back-to-back 100-yard performances for him going into year 3. And then defensively, I don't even think it's a question. Brock Purdy gets away with a wobbly pass to the end zone. Sure, he evades pressure, but I give the edge to the Seahawks here, and it gets to our final team in our NFC West Power Rankings as it goes Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, and 49ers. And 49ers, they were on some thin ice going into the season because of the exodus of talent through just, transactions and then also injuries. And now they're down a starting quarterback. They're down their star tight end. Christian McCaffrey, some people will call it, he's back, but, we still need to see more. And he's going into his 3rd straight week of play, something that he hasn't done really recently for the 49ers. And then defensively, like, Robert Saleh's back there, but at the same time, you're watching Spencer Rattler rattle off 3 touchdown passes against their defense. Still a lot of work to be done there too.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with the good. Kyle Shanahan's an elite head coach. Robert Saleh doing a really nice job. Like, that's how they've won these first 2 games. And great coaching can make the difference when you're playing the Saints and, give them credit against Seattle week 1 with Darnold struggling. But now the Cardinals, they have to kind of snuff that out, right? They got to say, no more of this. I mean, you're talking about a New Orleans team that rushed for more yardage, 120, 121 compared to 77 against San Francisco. Spencer Rattler, 3 touchdowns, had a better quarterback rating than Mac Jones. Like, I thought some costly turnovers, some fumbles from the Saints kept that game from being, I
going
think
in their favor.
Yeah, absolutely, with New Orleans. So, and New Orleans even had 2 chances to win it at the end. A couple sacks on the defensive side for both teams. Like, it's a pretty evenly matched game, and it should be because it's Mac Jones. And I think if the Niners, even if they were fully healthy, I would still have them near the bottom in a game in which Kyle Juszczyk might play, and Jawan Jennings has a shoulder, and McCaffrey has looked good as a receiver, not as a runner. Like, this is not sustainable. And give them credit. They're 2-0. You got to play the games on your schedule. Their schedule's a cupcake the rest of the way. This is a game where we talked about it all offseason. The 49ers are going to have a rude awakening when they start playing in-division games, specifically against the Cardinals and the Rams. They for whatever reason, have owned the Seahawks. Yeah. And that's got to start this weekend in Santa Clara for Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr.
No doubt about it. I think when you look at it, just you stack up the divisions across the league, NFC West has I think a true ability to with all 4 teams to hover around 500. Sure, like Seattle gets to take on the Saints. Like it's their turn to beat up on the piñata of the NFC South that is the New Orleans Saints, but still believe, like, you look at these 4 teams, nobody's going anywhere because of great coaching, because of, roster depth, and the staying power that they have. I mean, I only look to maybe the AFC West that you might be looking up at. Otherwise, you've got teams that are mostly top heavy, about 2 teams deep, like the NFC North, which was, lauded as the best division last year. We realized that maybe they might have benefited from beating up on the divisions that the NFC South or West is getting to play in the NFC South, AFC South. So I don't know. What's your, who do you think is the strongest division in the NFL? And what do you think about our power rankings? Did we get it right? Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, Niners? Drop a comment, leave a like, and subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube.